Right now, tonight at 5 on WHAS 11 News, we're beginning with breaking news of a big announcement tomorrow. Louisville's mayor's office has just announced via email to our newsroom that they will name the new permanent police chief for the Louisville Metro Police Department tomorrow at noon. It's the announcement we've been waiting for since Mayor Craig Greenberg chose not to continue with former Chief Erica Shields, who resigned last November.
Since then, the woman Shields brought to Louisville has been serving as interim chief. That is Jackie Gwen Villarreal. She has publicly said she wants the job full-time. On June 30th, the mayor announced an advisory committee for the search, including multiple community leaders. We will have live coverage tomorrow right here on WHAS 11. You can see that announcement at noon. We will learn the new chief and meet the new chief tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. Also tonight, nearly 1 year after devastating flooding hit eastern Kentucky. Tonight, western Kentucky communities are dealing with a deluge as some Louisville neighborhoods are also trying to dry out. A community so familiar with natural disasters has been hit once again. Much of downtown Mayfield seeing significant flooding. Mayfield is dealing with major flooding after nearly 10 inches of rain fell over the last 12 hours. This is the same small community devastated by tornadoes in December of 2021. I called the mayor of Mayfield to see how the town is faring today. She said they're still waiting to see how far the damage goes, but her community is resilient.
I say it all the time, and I'll never quit saying it. These are the best people on earth, and they can get hit down, they can get knocked down and get right back up, and not only do that, but help their neighbor in the process. So I look forward to this rain stopping today and seeing, the
First responders are going door to door to make sure people are safe. Mayfield has opened an emergency shelter in town for anyone who needs it. Right now, we're told there have been no injuries or rescues. And also late this afternoon, Kentucky Transportation Secretary Jim Gray announced that he's lifting restrictions on commercial motor vehicles involved in restoring power and clearing debris in western Kentucky. This certainly helps avoid delays for utility crews and other first responders now trying to restore power and clean up that flooding you just saw. The mayor, by the way, told us that she talked to Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear overnight and has been in touch with his team today. The governor showing his support for the community, taking to Twitter saying, "We're working to assess the damage and respond. Just like every challenge we've faced, we will be there for all those affected. We will get through this together." Well, the governor has officially declared a state of emergency because of the flooding in western, central, and eastern Kentucky. But here at home, we didn't escape the rain completely. Some East Louisville neighborhoods, for some reason, this storm really centered over them, dropped a lot of rain, dealing with high water overnight, even power outages caused by the storm. Flooded streets and stranded cars stuck in the water, unable to move, were common sights during the flash flooding across parts of Lake Forest in eastern Jefferson County. The dinnertime rainfall throughout there in Anchorage and Middletown caught many off guard by how quick the rain was coming down.
By the time I got back over here by this car, it was starting to pond a little bit. And by the time I got in this driveway and went upstairs, it was all the way into the car.
Luckily, Louisville emergency officials say no one was hurt despite power outages and that flash flooding. So let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Ben Pine, who's been keeping an eye on the radar. Ben, are you expecting any of the rain from western Kentucky to be heading our way?
Not tonight. Tomorrow we will have some rounds of showers and thunderstorms, and flooding is again going to be a concern. And it's just not good to see these historic floods happening more often. About a year ago, last July, eastern Kentucky, and now this time around western Kentucky. And this is a record you don't want to set. A new 24-hour record amount of rainfall for the state of Kentucky. 11.28 inches, the new record near Mayfield, Kentucky. 10.48 inches, the old record set in Louisville back in 1997. And there is that big bullseye of very heavy rain. And something you probably didn't think about, they have been in a drought in western Kentucky, and that can make the ground harder and cause more runoff and really exacerbate the problems there. They still have a flash flood warning there around Paducah through Mayfield, far western Kentucky. Things are still quiet here. We may see an isolated shower. I'll back out so we can get the correct camera view. We may get an isolated shower or storm this evening, but you see most of our weather model data showing mostly dry conditions for this evening. Tomorrow morning, there you can see the heavy rain starting to set up, especially the western half of the area tomorrow morning around sunrise and through about midday. Now that severe weather threat looks low with this, but we'll have to watch out for some flooding potential. The atmosphere could recharge tomorrow afternoon. That could give us another round of some strong storms later in the afternoon into the evening time. So we could have a couple of rounds of showers and thunderstorms for our Thursday. Quiet for now, upper 70s and lower 80s and humid out there. Can't rule out that isolated shower tonight. Low temperature at 73, about 80 with rain likely at lunchtime tomorrow, and our high up to the upper 80s with a few strong thunderstorms possible. After tomorrow, we have much more good news on the way, thankfully, for this week, and we'll have that just ahead.
All right, Ben, thank you very much. You're going to want to stay up to date with the storms across Kentuckiana this week. Make sure you do that by downloading the WHAS11 app. You can watch live, keep an eye on the radar, and it is free. Find it on the Apple App Store or on Google Play. The man vying to unseat Governor Andy Beshear in November has chosen his running mate.
Attorney General and Republican nominee for Governor Daniel Cameron selecting Kentucky State Senator Robbie Mills of Western Kentucky. As Isaiah Kim Martinez and photojournalist Nelson Reyes explain, the senator is linked to multiple anti-trans laws.
Well, lieutenant governor picks are often not compelling to your average voter, but in this running mate choice of Senator Robbie Mills, it was a tactical one for the Republican Party, somebody they deem as well-liked in the General Assembly and can have major pull in the rural parts of the state. A state lawmaker penned as a rock-ribbed conservative, Mills is known for sponsoring the bill, now law, that banned transgender girls from playing in boys' sports in Kentucky. He also co-sponsored Senate Bill 150, which has now banned gender-affirming care across the state.
Under the Cameron-Mills administration, we will bring about a new era of cooperation between the executive branch and the legislature.
The GOP nominee for Governor Daniel Cameron says Mills stands up for Kentucky values and has a history of defeating Democrats in his region of Western Kentucky, which includes Henderson and Dawson Springs.
And it was Robbie Mills who was the first person in Frankfort to sound the alarm about radical gender ideology.
Governor Andy Beshear's campaign responded quickly, writing in a statement, quote, selecting the person who helped lead the charge to enact Matt Bevin's plan to slash pensions for our teachers, police, and firefighters shows how Daniel Cameron does not care about hardworking Kentuckians. Mills voted for former Governor Bevin's 2018 pension bill, the Kentucky Supreme Court eventually ruling it unconstitutional. Meanwhile, University of Kentucky political science professor Stephen Voss believes Cameron's choice was a safe one.
By picking a running mate that reinforces the conservative positions on LGBT and especially trans issues, Cameron increases the likelihood that voters will view the election the way he's asking them to view it.
Mills confirming he will be at the annual Fancy Farm picnic to drum up support on August 5th. In Frankfort, Isaiah Kim Martinez, WHAS 11 on your side.
In early 2022, Senator Mills also helped push forward legislation to direct $200 million toward Western Kentucky. That was for tornado relief efforts. And the Democratic ticket for Kentucky governor will stay the same. As we told you yesterday, the current Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman has officially filed for re-election. She will be running alongside incumbent Governor Andy Beshear in hopes of continuing their administration in the fall. Before becoming Lieutenant Governor, Coleman was an educator. She worked as a teacher and assistant principal in Nelson County.
More news right here at 5 o'clock. Metro Corrections is using some unique methods to recruit new officers. Today, the Louisville Metro Council asked for an update on recruitment from the Department of Corrections. Director Jerry Collins said they're short 85 sworn officers, but they emphasized that recruitment has been one of their top priorities. He said the Louisville jail has radio ads, billboards, and they visit Fort Knox for job fairs. The department also shortened the application to hire process. The director said they are working on internal retention as well. Part of that is creating a woman workforce development group.
Was as we interviewed folks across, folks weren't applying for those positions or putting in for those positions on leadership roles. And part of that was because they didn't see folks that looked like them. So we wanted to develop that to where we did have that leadership development internally and folks knew that they could move up and go through the ranks.
Right now, 31% of Metro Corrections staff is women.
Well, for those of you who travel to and from southern Indiana, we do have a new traffic alert for you. You want to keep an eye on your radar on one of the major bridges over the Ohio River. Today, the Lincoln Bridge, of course, that's the newer bridge that sits right next to the Kennedy, carrying 65 north traffic, will begin overnight lane closures in order to install brand new tolling equipment. From 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., 3 of the bridge's northbound lanes on the Lincoln will close. The lanes are expected to open back up on Friday morning before closing down again this Sunday. The Kennedy Bridge will also close its southbound lane Sunday, with both projects expected to be finished by the end of Friday, July 28th.
Right now, the Indiana State Fire Marshal is en route to Clark County, where 2 children were severely burned in a fire. According to Clark County officials, it happened in a rural property in Marysville, right off of Naboo Washington Road West. It is about 45 minutes north of Louisville. The call came in right around noon today. We know the 2 children are hurt and their burns are severe. This is a developing story. We'll be sharing more information just as soon as we get it.
An update tonight, just days after celebrating her 6th birthday. 6-year-old Onyx Sands was shot in the back in a road rage incident that played out along I-65.
An investigation is underway, but so far no one has been charged for shooting that girl. Today, Grace McKenna spoke to the little girl's mother, who says her daughter's life has been forever changed.
Onyx's mom, China, tells me that she is finally out of the ICU and on her way to rehab, but her family is dealing with the devastating news that she may never walk again.
China Sands says Onyx was shot in the back, her spine severed. They just told her about the extent of her injuries yesterday. Sands says for the past week, Onyx has been dealing with complications, phantom pains, and discomfort. She says her little girl has been strong and has both good and bad days. But Sands is still frustrated and says it's unfair her daughter is paying the price for gun violence.
Why should she have to navigate through life using different means of transportation, adjusting to not being able to use her legs because a person thought it was a good idea to shoot blindly into moving traffic.
Police said Onyx was in the car with her father at the time of the shooting. That vehicle became involved in an altercation with a group of motorcyclists, which fired at the car. Sands says her daughter was an innocent victim, and the family is now left figuring out the next chapter of their lives.
A GoFundMe for Onyx has already raised more than $15,000. In Louisville, Grace McKenna, WHAS 11 on your side.
One person was arrested near the scene of the altercation, charged for being a felon in possession of a handgun. LMPD tells us this investigation is still active. They didn't have any updates to share today.
The teenagers accused of shooting and killing a 16-year-old at his school bus stop in Louisville in 2021 were in court today for a long-delayed pretrial conference. The 2 teens charged in his death, Damarian Moore and Mackay Cable, are asking for a bond reduction. Today in court, there was some confusion over those numbers, so they pushed the discussion to September. Tyree Smith's family was also in the courtroom. They say they will not miss a court date as they wait for justice for their son.
We're just going to continue on. We're going to be at every court date. We're going to do our best to get as much justice as we possibly can for our son. And I just hope everyone continue to pray for us and, always keep Tyree and his family in their prayers.
Damarian Moore and Mackay Cable were arrested and indicted in July of last year. The teens were also charged with the shooting in March of 2021. The next court hearing is set for September.
Every year, Kentucky State Police release a Crime in Kentucky report to make sure the Commonwealth is trending toward being safer. The report for 2022 held a lot of good news. Kentucky saw decreases in reports in 18 of the 23 Group A offenses. Homicide reports were down 33% from 2021. Drug offenses were down 13%. Robberies were down 16%. The crime that saw the greatest decrease in reports was gambling. Those were down by 84%. The Group A crimes that did see increases were bribery, which was up by 70%, and extortion was up by 33%. Also, cruelty to animals, that was up by 19%.
This report is encouraging news that we are moving in the right direction. This is what is possible when we work together to build each other up and to do what's best for our families.
The entire report for yourself, head on over to KentuckyStatePolice.org. You can click on resources and then click on crime and traffic data.